Big tech is locked in a massive spending war. Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, and Meta, they're all pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into data centers, power grids, and custom chips. But Wall Street is kind of starting to lose patience, and everyone is asking the same question right now, which is essentially, when do shareholders actually get their money back? Now, the everyday headlines might make it look like a simple software race, but it's actually a physical infrastructure battle. The wrong move could trap billions of dollars in dead cash for the next decade. And so today, Jose and I are going to be talking about the ultimate question on a lot of investors' minds right now. Which hyperscaler is actually winning the AI spending war? And now I'm going to bring Jose in to look at the big macro picture.
Now, before we continue with today's episode, if you want market-beating stock picks from our analysts, make sure to check out the pinned comment and the description. Using that link gets you a promotional offer as our thanks for being a viewer. Thank you, and let's get back to today's episode.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. And I mean, I agree, Rachel, that the crazy amount of money entering this space is just so hard to wrap your head around. When you look at the big four, including Meta, so Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Meta, total annual spending is tracking toward an eye-watering $700 to $800 billion. This goes way beyond just ordering AI chips. These are companies buying crazy amount of real estate and funding massive electrical grid projects just to keep the data centers running.
Well, and that's a really important point, right? Because on the upside, these firms, they're essentially building the computing utility grid for what could be decades, even the next century ahead. But the market is, and perhaps understandably so, judging their balance sheets very differently. I mean, you could take Meta, for example. They're deploying tens of billions of dollars into specialized data centers to optimize, Instagram and Facebook ads to really drive that advertising engine from which they make their money. And it's sort of a defensive tax to protect their ad margins, and it's working. But the flip side of it is it's also putting really heavy pressure on their immediate cash flows.
Exactly, Rich. I mean, you see the same pressure hitting other companies like Microsoft. Their early investments in OpenAI gave them a great software AI model lead out of the gate. But look at the balance sheet risk right now. Their capital spending just backed by over 80% year over year. Now, to be fair, Microsoft's core operating cash flow remains crazy strong. They are still printing money at the baseline, but the building pace has caused their free cash flow to drop, which has significantly repriced their free cash flow premium, proving that they are stuck in this kind of cycle or wheel where they have to keep spending just to host AI models like Anthropic and OpenAI.
Well, and I think this is the paradigm that a lot of these companies are facing right now. I mean, for example, if Microsoft were to stop building, OpenAI's development slows down. There's this constant pressure, but it introduces a risk that I think a lot of analysts, including us, are closely watching, and that is circular funding. I mean, this has become a huge trend in the tech sector. And what I mean by that, what is circular funding? So you have a tech giant that, say, puts $10 billion into a hot new AI startup. Well, on paper, that might look like a standard venture capital investment. But the fine print in the contract often compels that startup to turn around and spend that exact same $10 billion renting data center space right back from that specific investor or, hyperscaler, if you will. And so that is something that we are continuing to see within the space, and it's raising a lot of questions about the sustainability of the build out.
Yeah, obviously, Rachel, the optics looks a bit scary, right? Think about the accounting flow. The parent company hands over cash from its overall investment ledger, and a few quarters later, that exact same cash comes right back into their cloud division as a recorded customer revenue. The upside is that it jumpstarts the developer ecosystem, which is crucial and makes cloud growth look incredible. But the real structural risk happens if these startups fail to build a self-sustaining business model before that injected cash runs out. Once they run out of that money, that specific cloud revenue, in theory, would completely vanish. Luckily, at least right now, Rachel, with at least these types of deals, we're seeing with the big players like OpenAI and Anthropic, which do tend to have a massive demand at the moment.
Yeah, I think the concern is that if the startup can't find real paying end users, we have a problem, right? If the users aren't paying the startup can't pay the hyperscaler, and that high cloud growth rate can stall out. And I think that risk factor, among others, is why some investors are starting to prioritize companies that are relying on a wide range of corporate clients and are also working to lower their own chip costs. We're not here to say that Microsoft or Meta are bad companies by any means, but I do think these are real risks that investors should be aware of.
Agree. And that's why this whole capital landscape is shifting. I mean, Amazon has initiated a $200 billion capital deployment, while Alphabet, as we were talking, a full range between 180 and 190 billion. Both companies are moving away from just your venture hype cycles and focusing on building their own AI chips to lower the cost of total ownership for the data center build out that we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is also about who can serve an AI workload at the lowest cost per token. And I'm going to take a look at how Alphabet is managing this transition. Alphabet's latest earnings, I think, were just another example of them crushing the bear thesis, right? I mean, we saw over the last few years, a lot of critics suggest that AI would destroy Google's search margins, that Google Cloud was, stuck in a distant third place behind AWS and Azure. But I think that the data is telling a very different story, right? So Google Cloud's quarterly revenue reached $20 billion in the most recent quarter. That was up 63% year over year. That is an acceleration that's almost unheard of. It easily, quite handily beat Wall Street's expectations. But it's really the strategy behind this number that I think investors need to pay attention to. This growth is driven by established corporate accounts moving their legacy data into active machine learning and AI environments. This is also backed up by Google Cloud's contracted future backlog that nearly doubled quarter on quarter. That hit $460 billion. Current revenue tells you what happened last quarter, but backlog tells you what is contractually guaranteed to hit the business over the next 3 to 5 years. So that's something that's also really important for investors to understand. And there's another really key structural advantage here, and that comes from Alphabet's decade-long investment in its own custom chips, its TPUs. Google has been refining its own internal silicon for years now, and by offering buyers direct access to their TPU hardware, they are really actively working to decouple the profit margins from external component suppliers. Obviously, they're still reliant on suppliers, but this is a trend that we are seeing where they're increasingly offering that access. We had seen, obviously, that Alphabet pushed their full-year capital spending target up towards as high as $190 billion. We know the market didn't like that. But when you're seeing that paired with a $460 billion committed enterprise pipeline, that spending can really transition from speculative building to locking down capacity for guaranteed future cash flows. And remember, they also have over 350 million premium subscribers across YouTube and Google One that they can monetize directly without paying high customer acquisition costs.
Agree that $460 billion backlog provides strong long-term visibility. And I am bullish on this segment, Rachel, but we always have to look at that operational risk. While Google directing $190 billion towards data center, their fixed server depreciation costs are creeping up. If corporate clients take longer than expected to build actual profitable applications out of that backlog, Google will be carrying kind of this massive fixed bills on underutilized capacity. How safe would you say is their bottom line if corporate budget pulls back next year? Now, before I give you this, Rachel, I do want to say it's fair to say that this risk is not just for Google, but right now for all the players here in the cloud space business.
Yeah, I mean, it's a valid risk. But I think one of the things that makes me increasingly confident in Alphabet is the strength of their core ad engine, right? I mean, Google Search, obviously YouTube advertising as well, continue to operate at a really high level of efficiency. It's generating a tremendous amount of cash flow. So, they aren't leveraging their balance sheet with heavy debt to fund this cloud and AI expansion. They're very much covering it out of current operating cash. And I think that is something that investors need to pay attention to. I mean, they were also able to initiate an increase to their quarterly dividend while absorbing the costs of this hardware cycle. So that really gives them, I think, the continued trajectory they need, even to ride out any near-term enterprise deceleration.
Yeah, that cash generation from the ad business is a strong stabilizer. But what about enterprise positioning, Rachel? Microsoft, for example, has spent decades deeply embedded inside global corporate businesses. If enterprise compliance officers view Google as a direct competitor in consumer apps, will they hesitate to store proprietary data layers on Google Cloud?
At the end of the day, enterprises go where their data already lives. Companies are not going to spend millions of dollars migrating their information over to a competitor just for the sake of, provider neutrality, whatever you want to call it. A significant portion of the world's structured enterprise data already resides natively inside Google Analytics, BigQuery, which is also a Google property. And Google has historically won because they have all that data hosted in-house, and running it now on their own internal TPUs is the cheapest, most efficient option on the block for developers. Looking on the infrastructure side, Amazon is also showing a huge surge of growth, and that's something I think a lot of investors are paying attention to.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have talked about Amazon about a year ago, you would have market would have suggested that it was caught pretty much flat-footed in this AI race. But looking at the actual data, AWS is executing a large-scale infrastructure expansion aimed at positioning their cloud as the primary gateway for corporate AI workloads. Looking at their most recent earnings, quarter one results, AWS recorded 28% year-over-year revenue growth. While that percentage is lower than Google on a relative basis, remember the sheer size of AWS. This is the fastest growth rate AWS has posted in 15 quarters, moving the division to a historic $150 billion annual revenue run rate. For the quarter, AWS revenue came in at $37.6 billion, reflecting a $2 billion sequential increase over the prior quarter, the largest quarter four to quarter one monetary increase in the history of the division. But the real story here comes into the custom chip engine. Trainium, Amazon's custom silicon business, has reached a $20 billion annual revenue run rate, growing at triple-digit percentage numbers. On a standalone basis, this run rate would make Amazon one of the top 3 data center chip companies in the entire world. And Wall Street completely missed that in the quarter one print, is that Amazon is also part of the CPU layer. They just locked in a historic multi-billion-dollar deal with Meta to deploy tens of millions of custom AWS Gravitons, which are their CPU products. Why is this massive? Because the market thinks AI is only about training large models on GPUs. But as Meta advances into agentic AI systems, that takes real time and real actions. It executes codes and it searches. It uses tools over and over again. The compute model shifts heavily back to high performance CPUs, and Meta is diversifying into Amazon's custom silicon because no single architecture can handle agentic workloads cleanly. When you add that to the fact that Amazon has over $225 billion in long-term revenue commitments strictly for their AI chips, and an overall $346 billion contracted backlog for the AWS, their pipeline is pristine. They are spending $200 billion on infrastructure because actual paying enterprise demand is outstripping supply. They are building a physical tool booth that every enterprise has to pay, whether they're running GPUs or CPUs or other types of AI chip solutions.
Yeah, those Trainium commitments are pretty substantial. But I think the one thing that's worth noting is to support this $200 billion build out, Amazon has utilized the debt markets for a $25 billion bond issuance. And that increased their long-term debt position to around $120 billion. And they also saw a little bit of a downward adjustment in their operating margins, just about a 2% decline. But I think the question is, if Amazon is expanding its leverage profile, maybe its cloud operating margins are compressing slightly, do you think there's a risk there for long-term shareholders, or do you think this is maybe short-term headwinds?
Rachel, I think the minor margin adjustment reflects an accounting timing mismatch rather than a structural demand issue. Amazon is front-loading cash outlays to secure real estate, to lock semiconductor production allocation, to establish power infrastructure link. These upfront developments costs affect the operating ledger immediately. But that backlog is recognized over a multi-year period. As those data centers are brought online, the debt deployment is in my opinion, a deliberate capital choice to establish long-term infrastructure assets while preserving their AA credit rating.
I think the other thing to consider is also the chip landscape. I mean, Trainium capacity is heavily booked today. We're seeing NVIDIA iterating its product roadmap rapidly, though. So I think there's also the question, if third-party hardware supply increases, we see pricing declines over the next year, is there a risk that Amazon's internal silicon strategy loses that cost advantage we're talking about?
Um, Amazon's custom silicon isn't, in my opinion, designed to compete with NVIDIA on peak performance. Their focus is mainly optimizing price performance, mainly for inference, which is that daily running and fine-tuning of models by enterprises. For the majority of corporate applications, renting top-tier third-party chips for standard data processing is economically inefficient. Now, the data indicates that the infrastructure spending war is shifting into an operational execution phase. This level of deployment is tied directly to expanding enterprise revenue run rates across the sector. Whether you prioritize Alphabet's 63% cloud growth and internal chip advantage, or Amazon's $150 billion AWS run rate and neutral infrastructure model, the physical cloud layer is capturing a significant share of the current spending. We want to hear your perspective as well. Which infrastructure strategy do you think is going to win over the 5-year horizon? Are you buying Google? Are you buying Amazon? Are you buying Microsoft or Meta? And if you found this video useful, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. If you want market-beating stock picks from our analysts, check out fool.com/epic-50. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next market update.